It's time for the parade in Pasadena. Tradition meets college football action in one epic bowl game. And with DraftKings Sportsbook, you can make every play count. New customers can score $150 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on college football. Download the app now and use code Richard. New customers can score $150 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on college football. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code Richard. The crown is yours.
Welcome back to the Richard Sherman podcast. Oh, it's a black day in San Francisco, but a great day in Seattle, Mitchell. What a week.
What a week. What a weekend. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to everyone. We were all blessed with some great football yesterday. Let's take it right off the top. The most recent game, Rich, I know, like you said, you had your ups and downs this weekend. Seattle with a big win. San Francisco, not so much. Richard, did you see this coming? San Francisco. Woo!
Mitchell, I cannot say I saw this coming. I did not see San Francisco turning the ball over 5 times, Brock Purdy getting sacked 4 times. Now, I knew this defense was one of the top in the league, creating pressure. San Francisco ended up losing Trent Williams throughout the game and had to shuffle their offensive line, and it got progressively worse, all to the point where they had no other offensive lineman left in reserve. But Lamar played a really good game. Like I said, the Baltimore defense created 5 turnovers, really held San Francisco's offense down. Christian McCaffrey still found some success, obviously, but Lamar Jackson was 23 of 35 for 252, 2 touchdowns, also ran it 7 times for 45 yards. Brett Urban had 2 sacks. Kyle Vanoy had a sack. Jadeveon Clowney had a sack, and a lot of other pressures. But the true linchpin in this game, as he's been all season, was Kyle Hamilton. He was a menace. He was menace in the past game. He had 2 interceptions. He was rushing the passer. He was creating pressures. He had deflections. Marlon Humphrey got one. Patrick McQueen got one. Marcus Williams. Everybody got in on him, Mitchell. And it was probably the roughest game of Brock Purdy's career to date. 18 of 32, 255, 4 interceptions, no touchdowns. Brandon Ayuk had 6 for 113. George Kittle had 7 for 126. If you just looked at the yardage, you'd think this was a much better game than it was. San Francisco outgained Baltimore, but it did not matter because the 5 turnovers, you turn the ball over 5 times and don't get any, Mitchell, you're not winning that game.
I hate to say it, Rich, but this game looked all too familiar to when my Detroit Lions got absolutely obliterated by the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens look really, really good. And you called it. Their defense is swarming. Their offense is absolutely dynamic. Let's talk about Brock Purdy a little bit, because you were the one front line singing his praises, saying this guy is going to be the MVP. He deserves it. What are your thoughts now, Richard, on a Tuesday after what you saw last night?
Mitchell, I can't give it to him. You know, he obviously dropped to 4th in the rankings, but you throw 4 interceptions in one game in December, Mitchell, you kiss your MVP hopes goodbye. But the guy who did not have a bad game is Christian McCaffrey, and he was still very productive, had a touchdown, had 103 yards rushing, 6 receptions, 28 yards receiving. He continues to lead the league and all tied for the league with Raheem Mostert for total touchdowns by a non-quarterback. And then you got to give credit to Lamar Jackson and what he's done. You know, I've argued this on every show that I'm on. He just doesn't have the touchdown numbers that he had in previous years and that he had in his MVP year. His MVP year, he had 36 passing touchdowns, 7 rushing. He has 5 rushing this year and only 19 passing touchdowns. But still, a remarkable season. His team is number 1 in the AFC, number 1 overall with 12-3 record. They got to go play the Miami Dolphins. It's a home game where Baltimore's played really well, and I expect them to win that game. So they deserve a lot of credit, and he's the quarterback.
Well, Richard, let's focus again back on the 49ers, because they still are number 1 seed right now, but they got work left to do. They got to win out. I mean, because they got some other folks nipping at their heels. Let's not forget that. My Detroit Lions have an opportunity. The Philadelphia Eagles have an opportunity. It looks like the final week of this season, they're going to have to play the red-hot LA Rams, which you had a first-row ticket to watch last week. Richard, I mean, this is not a layup game. There's so much on the line for both teams. Like, what do the 49ers have to do to get right to win out the rest of the season?
Well, they gotta stop the run, which they did all right in this game. They got to find a way to get some turnovers, to get some sacks. They put some pressure on Lamar Jackson, but the plays where they missed sacks or some of the biggest plays that he made throughout the night, scored touchdowns, made first downs, created extended plays, and really did damage. If they would have finished those sacks, then we may be talking about a different result. But at the end of the day, they just got to execute. They just got to execute. It's not a lot of things that you're not going to expect three balls to get tipped up in the air and intercepted in a ball game. George Kittle, I'm sure, on that first route in the red zone is going to run his corner route a lot deeper to occupy the safety so that window for that post route against too high safety can be open, because that was a problem in that route. George ran a flat out instead of a corner route, so it doesn't occupy the safety, so the backside safety gets no work. Kyle Hamilton, the great player that he is and the great season that he's having, saw that, easily baited Brock Purdy into that pass, intercepted it. So I think you can get a lot of these things corrected. It wasn't like a lot of these passes where Brock Purdy just making terrible decisions and throwing it to the defense. His arm was hit on the one to McQueen. The rest of them were tipped up in the air outside of the first one to Kyle Hamilton. So I don't think it's anything where you look at it and say, oh, this is broken. Like I said, they had over 400 yards offense, but the defense, Bosa had 3 tackles for a loss, and Javon Hargrave had 1 sack, but they got to finish that. They got to finish more sacks in order to win these ball games.
Well, Richard, let's take it to another NFC West team.